Hello everyone, this is Angela here, and today I'm doing the second part of my video series, my journey with a covert narcissist, my romance with a covert narcissist. And this video is going to be talking about the Hoover. In my last video where I left off, I talked about the introduction, how I met the covert narcissist, what my personality was like, what attracted me to this covert narcissist. And this type of narcissist is what I call the victim. And the victim narcissist has the highest quality of success into drawing into the empath. It's like that that narcissistic dance, where the empath and the narcissist meet and they become a toxic couple. So let's continue on with the story. So he had contacted me back in 2012. It was late 2012 was the second time that I heard from him. The first time when I first met him, it was 2008. So here it's 4 years later, and I get this email out of the blue. Hi, how you doing? And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't heard from you. And, at the time I was single and still and not with anyone, kind of getting my life together. If anyone knows my channel, after my Wicked Attraction episode where I was going through all that drama with my mother and all, I was kind of getting my life together. And he was a distant memory. So we had a reunion. He came to where I lived and we went out to dinner. He spent the night. No, nothing happened. We didn't get back together or anything like that. It was just like this reunion, that he was glad to see me. And he kept trying to start up where he left off, but it didn't happen. I believe at that time that the reason why I was hoovered was because he was scoping out jobs in my area, and he conveniently thought that a relationship between us could just pick back up where it left off without even an explanation of why it had ended in the first place. And me, like a dodo, didn't even think about it. I just rationalized it as he was not in a good place at the time of his life. And I just, he was just like an old familiar face. Basically, honestly, I always tended to blame myself for whenever one of my relationships failed. Oh, it's my fault, my fault, my fault. I did this or I did that, or I was too needy, or maybe I should have did this differently. But I always blame myself. That's classic. It's a mechanism of mine with regard to my own personality, to blame myself, because growing up as a scapegoat child of a narcissist, it was always my fault. Everything was always my fault. So, you know, but I wasn't the only one who suffered in my childhood. I wasn't. And if anyone is interested in seeing any other videos of mine talking about my childhood, feel free to check out some of my other videos. But so at the time, I kind of was not interested in him that way anymore. He wanted to spend the day with me, the next day with me, and I said to him that I had plans to go down I had made pre-planned to go down to the beach and with a friend of mine, and I wasn't canceling my plans, and he got very annoyed with that. He got very annoyed. Now somebody, like, like he should have taken priority and it over, in other words, I should have dropped everything to spend my time with him. See, it's okay for him to ghost me and violate my boundaries and not consider my feelings or me, but don't do it to him. Okay, so that was a red flag that I didn't pick up on. And I'm just like, look, I'm sorry. I had things to do. I had plans. So he got pissed off, and I had invited him to come back another time. Like, I think a couple of weeks later, I was having a barbecue, and I had emailed him, and I had asked him to, if he wanted to go. No response. Emailed him again. Do you want to go to a barbecue? No response. Text messaged him. Are you coming to this barbecue or not? No response. After about hounding him for like a couple times, just asking him, are you coming to this barbecue? He finally, very short, no, I'm not coming. And that was the end of that. And I didn't see him anymore. I didn't see him anymore until till 4 years later. Okay, the second Hoover. The second Hoover is when I was really in the thick of it. I was really, really in the thick of it. And what had happened was a crisis had happened in his life. He was still living with his parents, okay? Never thought about moving out. There was a lot of enmeshment in that family. It was like his sister lived there, his sister's husband lived there, his niece lived there, his parents were there, he was there. They were all enmeshed. And that's a big red flag, okay? When you see adult children living with their parents, okay? And if it's not a temporary situation to where they're there for years, okay, not having any plans on moving out, there's some enmeshment going on. So that's a red flag. So it's the year 2015, and I get this email, and he was very clever in this particular Hoover. He had emailed me asking me for so-called advice for a friend of his that was going through like child support issues, and he wanted to know what the court's filing procedures were with regard to that issue. And me, being people pleaser, want to help everybody, sure, I'll I responded right away. It's like, well, he needs to do this, that, and the other, and contact the court, and blah, blah, blah. And it may be in his best interest to get an attorney, and I'm like that. So he saw that I responded positively, which was his way of enlisting me back into that Hoover. And what happened was, got right back in it. So then he's like, oh, I want to go down the shore with you. So I said, okay. He's like, why don't we meet down at the Jersey Shore, and we'll get together and, spend the weekend down there and just spend time together. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty great. I thought mistakenly that things were great in his life, like things were better, and that he was going to be attentive to me, and it was going to grow into something, that his past issues, were all behind him. And because I seriously thought he was traumatized by his divorce. I thought that was the reason for his strange behavior. So I got hoovered. Yeah, I got hoovered. And I went down the shore, and I packed this, because he, paid for a place for us to stay. I packed food and drinks, and, I went out and bought alcohol, and, yeah. I get there and it was okay, but I felt that he was very distant, and I also felt like he wasn't really courting me, so to speak, that I was just there. Um, he didn't, uh, hmm, we were always riding around in my car because, you know, I went from the hotel to the beach to dinner. I found myself buying food, drinks. I paid for lunch on the boardwalk. I paid for dinners at the, pizza place we would go to. And I paid for gas for the car. And, you know, because I don't know, I guess like I just had this problem about men paying for me. Like I thought, like I just my own pathology. I just thought, well, you're supposed to pay your own way, which is ludicrous. It's not how it works. Okay, I know that now, but I couldn't see that back then. And it's like that's how low my self-esteem was, that I felt like I didn't even deserve to be pursued by the man. Yeah. And yeah, so needless to say that whatever he put out, I put out double. While we were on the beach, I found him to be very distant, very cold, very aloof, uh, just very quiet, hardly ever talked. When he did talk, I felt more like a therapist than I did a girlfriend. It was all doom and gloom. He complained about his sister, how she was taking advantage of his mother. He complained about his job. He complained that, you know, well, forget about his kid. He just completely abandoned his kid pretty much, hardly ever saw him. Donnie was not the type of person that opened up, okay? He was not the type of person that expressed emotion, whether it be positive or negative. He was an introverted narcissist. Um, Introverted narcissists, I noticed, they rage, but their rage is internal, okay? Everything is covert about them. You will never, ever get a straight answer from them. Um, there was a lot of babble, things that just didn't make sense. And I found myself extremely frustrated during that Hoover. And this was in the year 2015. He was in a crisis situation because things were not stable at his home. Okay. You figured that he was like, his mother was overly nurturing and his father was like a brute. And it was like narcissists do not like mess, okay? They like things to be quite rigid. It seems like they're not adaptable to change, okay? And things were crashing down on him. His dad had gotten Alzheimer's and needed to go into a nursing home, and he was in crisis mode, and he reached out to the first person that he could cling to because he was very codependent and everything was falling apart. He was falling apart emotionally. So that was the first part of the Hoover. And that relationship went on for a little while, till for about a year, okay? But it wasn't consistent because of the distance where I lived. But I'm going, in my next video, I want to talk about how it progressed until it came into a catastrophic, not catastrophic, but until it came to an abrupt end where I just like went crazy and just was like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm done. I'm just totally done. Does it ever end well with a narcissist? And I'm and as this series progresses, I'm going to show you by reading text not text mess, emails of how this person, how they interact with you, where they're just completely flat. They have no emotion, no empathy, no warmth, no compassion, no ability to put themselves in your position and see things from other people's perspectives. So with that, I'm going to stop this video, and we're going to talk about the in-depth part of the relationship in my next video. Take care.